championships. Alabama is the champagne of college football. The best of the best, the gold standard, because that's what you deserve as a fan. This is Bama football on YouTube, covering Alabama football at the highest level. Often copied, but never duplicated. From Kalen DeVore's post-game press conference to news as it happens, independently owned and operated, coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the place where legends are made, the one and only self-made Kyle Henderson. Let a naysayer know, roll tide roll.
Fam, what's going on? Could I get a roll tide inside the comment box? What's good? It is Feel Good Friday, and I hope that you are off to an amazing start. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube, and I appreciate you guys being here. I know you could be a million different places, but you choose to be here right here on Bama Football on YouTube at 9 a.m. Central Time. I appreciate you guys. Yo, if you roll tide, can you hit the thumbs up on this video? Take a minute, take a breather. And I appreciate you. What's going on? Matthew, Dean, someone inside the comment box on one of the replays was like, why do you always recognize the people who are watching the show? Because it's you that make the show. So I'm going to continue to give the shout outs. Jimmy Lee Baker, Dean, Matthew, Marcus from St. Pete's, Jeff, what's going on? AJ, Derek, what's going on? And I appreciate you guys inside the comment box. You know what? Look, I bring the energy because every single day is a gift from God that we are here, right? Like, this is an opportunity to be a better person, to live a better life. And if I'm going to have to do that through Bama Football on YouTube, then this is what we're going to do, all right? And it's Turnover Friday. There's a scrimmage tomorrow on Saturday. And yes, I will have more nuggets coming during the scrimmage. So we got a lot to go over today. I'm going to take your calls. We're going to dive into the mailbag. We're going to talk on the show today. And remember, we are on Spotify as well, or Facebook, or TikTok. Don't tweet my life away on X. I think it's kind of, X is an interesting space. I will tweet out like that we're live and maybe some impactful stuff. But, man, there's a lot of, you know what? There's a lot of negativity out there. We're not going to bring that negativity here. And of course, but, you know, feel free to say what you want inside the comment box. That's why I love the comment box and, being a part of Bama Football on YouTube. If you want to take it up a step further, $2.99 to support the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Super chats greatly appreciated. Hat is from Chris Mobley. So I'm rocking the Black Hat Friday today, and the Undefeated gear, which you could buy in our merch store, which is underneath our video. Undefeated, that's the name of our crew inside the comment box, because Undefeated knows. The Undefeated knows, period. All right, we're going to talk about the scrimmage preview that is on Saturday. What we want to see from the scrimmage. What can Alabama continue to capitalize on going into Saturday as we inch closer to the college football season? This is a football month. You have football on August 31st, if you can believe that. Western Kentucky up in the house. Yeah, I'm getting ready for it. I'm prepping for it. I can't wait for it. Good morning, Brocketown. I see you inside the comment box. Tony Jr. checking in to us from Tallahassee. Javion, I see you up in the comment box as well. Same thing with Hunter. Thank you so much for being here right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Now, we're going to talk about AK Deer, who has now set a commitment date. We won't spend too much time on it because we've talked a lot about AK Deer. I still feel that he's an Alabama lean. I know we're kind of watching what's going on with Turbo Rogers, who's been ultra quiet during this recruiting process, which is fine. So I think, you know, you need two running backs within this class of 2025. We'll see what AK Deer does, and he is committing on August 20th, right? That is next week. That's just in a couple days. The toughest top 5 schedule. So I went through Georgia, and I have a really good graphic where I'm going to show all the schedules kind of comparatively. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to get your feedback on who has the toughest schedule out of Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss. I'm sure you maybe looked at a couple of the schedules, but to have them side by side, I think will give us a really good idea of who has the toughest schedule this coming season in a world of everybody has a gauntlet pretty much. I think there are some teams that do have an easier road to maybe get to the SEC championship game or the college football playoffs. We'll dive into that. Mailbag Friday. So usually on Thursday night, up inside the community tab that's part of YouTube, so you have your videos, and up top you'll see community. I post, hey, if you want to get your question answered, if you can't call in, then type it in, and I'll read out some mailbag questions. We got some really good mailbag questions as well. And of course, we'll take your calls at 205-850-1994. You don't have to call in right now. I'll tell you when to call in, kind of towards the back end of the show. Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Again, the hat is from Chris Mobley, so definitely go check that out. That is Chris Mobley, Mobley. Tell him Bama Football on YouTube sent you. And the drip right here is part of our gear on Bama Football on YouTube. All right, let's talk about this scrimmage preview. So Alabama has another scrimmage, which is coming up on Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Following that, you will hear from Coach Kalen DeBoer. And here's some of the things that I'm looking forward to in terms of what we want to see in scrimmage number 2. I want to continue to see explosive plays from the offense. Now, we've looked at all of the positions, and we've talked about the running back play. We talked about the wide receivers, but I want to see big explosive plays. I want to see other guys in that wide receiver room really step up and make plays. Look, I get it. Ryan Williams scored the 50-yard touchdown. Let's see something for Jerry Bernard, who had a really good spring game. Let's see something from Kobe Prentice. I think that the wide receiver strength is going to be amazing. And just as Nick Sheridan said this week, when you look at that wide receiver room collectively, there's so many guys that can bring it from different positions. I love that. You got to put the best out on the field, and Jalen Milroe has so many guys to connect with. You're looking at the tight ends right here. Look, this is a stock-up group for me. Josh Cuevas caught a touchdown. I want to see what Danny Lewis can do, get the football out to C.J. Dupree, who I think is due for a really big season. So explosive plays from that offense and more of the running game, too. And I think if I'm trying to hold anything, if I'm playing poker, if I'm Kalen DeBoer right now, I might go with some explosive plays from the offense, but I might not show too much, even from like a scrimmage standpoint, because there's going to be nuggets that are leaked out. I promise you. That's just how it goes, right? I'm not really showing what I got in the running game. A couple reasons why. Number one, I don't want to show you how dynamic Jam Miller is and how good Justice Haynes really are. Outside of our Alabama ecosystem, I promise you, people do not know. Probably Western Kentucky knows. But everybody else, they don't know. So don't show too much of that. Plus, keep those guys healthy. I'm curious to see which guys are healthy in that game. I figure that, you probably keep that kind of close to your vest. I know Daniel Hill and Sling will get an official update from Coach Kalen DeBoer following the scrimmage on Saturday. But, maybe, I don't want to show too much from that running game because I think it's going to be one of Alabama's strongest suits going into this year. You heard from Justice Haynes talking about, look, the running back system hasn't changed under Coach Saban. I love the quote. And I do like the question because I think everybody looks at Coach Kalen DeBoer's offense and like, what is going to change? How are they going to, you're not going to utilize the running backs? That's not true. He's going to utilize the running back room. I promise you. I'm just curious if they're going to have a featured back or not. So I want to see explosive plays. I want to see improvement from the kicking game. Look, sometimes like you guys read it, you guys saw it. In the sites that you read, or the YouTube channels that you watch, the kicking game, it didn't have its best performance on Saturday. Now on Sunday during that open practice, it looked a little bit better, but this will be another opportunity from Graham Nicholson, who was the returning Lou Groza Award winner, to, kind of get back on track and get some confidence going into this first game of the season. There's no substitute for a kicking game. Like, you have to be buttoned up in special teams, punting, kicking, all of those aspects, punt returns, kick returns. That has to be one of your strongest suits if you really want to make a run for the championship. The last thing that this team needs is to have an A+ offense and an A+ defense and a B on special teams. Like, that's not going to fly here. So another opportunity for the special teams to kind of get back on track regarding Grant Nicholson. I think he was 3 for 5 of the scrimmage, so curious to see what he does. On the defensive side, look, it's hard to see what type of pass rusher they're going to have because you can't really go after the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks still in black jerseys, which is fine. You want to keep the quarterbacks upright. But you kind of more from the secondary. And as we've talked about yesterday, there is a position battle right now at the cornerback position between Xavier Brown, Deshaun Jones, and Jalen Mbakwe. What type of movement are we going to see there from those guys? And is Xavier Brown still in the cast, which I would assume he is up until maybe those first couple days before the first game of the season. So I'm curious on that aspect as well. Let me ask you, in this next scrimmage, what do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What do you want to read following the scrimmage? And of course, the number one thing is keep these guys healthy. Going into the season, while Alabama has depth, an incredible depth, this is a type of season where you can't afford injuries to marquee players. The healthier, the teams that are standing, even at the 12-team spot, are going to be the teams that not only won games, but survived the gauntlet of the injuries too. This is a long season. This is an NFL-type season. You saw just after one scrimmage, there was 4 running backs in black jerseys, or 3, and Daniel Hill off to the side. So it's a hard-hitting season. It's the SEC. The back-end schedule, ultra challenging. The front-end schedule has Georgia included. So curious to see, if you can maintain the health aspect. And, of course, you have Jeff Allen, who's, Alabama's ace in the hole in terms of guys who get banged up, nicked up, whatever. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube, 205-850-1994. I'll tell you when to call in. Let me roll through these topics real quick. You're watching Bama Football on YouTube. We're talking fall camp coverage. Hat is by Chris Mobley. The shirt up top is undefeated, which you can buy in our gear. And I see you inside the comment box, Bama hater. Let me roll through these topics, man, and then we'll start taking some questions from the comment box. And I appreciate you guys joining from AJ, Bama hater, Jeff, Keith Connell. What's up, man? I appreciate you, Patrick. I see you coming in to us from Pennsylvania, man. It's always good to see where Alabama fans are rolling in from, and I appreciate you guys' continued support. All right, let's see. Top 5 schedules. I want to jump on that real quick. So when I was looking at the top 5 schedules, and I'll bring this full screen so you can see. And I want some feedback now from you guys inside the comment box. All right, so I'll roll through the schedules one by one. We'll start on the left with Georgia, then Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Bama, and Ole Miss. But what I want after I read through these is I want feedback from you guys is who has the toughest schedule. And Jimmy Lee's coming to us from Gulf Shoes. Appreciate you. All right. No, I know, Jeff. Florida certainly has the toughest schedule, but this is the toughest schedule out of the top 5 teams, right? I added 6 teams. I threw Ole Miss in there just because I want to highlight a point. Ole Miss front end schedule, I feel their schedule overall, is pretty good. But let's start with Georgia, okay? And then what I'm going to ask you, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to go through the schedule, so go through Georgia's, and then I'm going to ask you, and take your fan hat off, right? And just be realistic with me, based on the teams that we know, based on the returning players that we know, based on what we know in college football. Tough environments. I want you to give me a tough schedule will be 10 out of 10, right? A light schedule, 1 out of 10, right? So let's start with Georgia, and we'll look at it right now on full screen. So starting with Georgia, you got Clemson in the opener. Then you take on Tennessee Tech, trip to Kentucky. You're open to prep for Alabama, a road trip to Tuscaloosa in the first part of the season. You take on Auburn. That game's in Athens. Then you take on Mississippi State. Then you travel to Austin to take on Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. You're open again. You take on Florida. Then you travel to Oxford to take on Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. You take on Tennessee at home. You take on UMass, and you take on Georgia Tech. The following, all 3 of those games on the back end are in Athens. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say, with 10 being the most challenging for the Georgia Bulldogs, what would you say that their strength of schedule is? Sound off now inside the comment box. When I looked at Georgia's schedule, and we're still on Georgia, look, the game against Clemson, it is interesting. I'm definitely going to have that game on, right? I'm curious to see what, Dabo Swinney has in store. Nobody's talking about Clemson. Samuel's saying 8. Now, last year, their schedule was probably like a 2. I think this is one of the most challenging schedules for the top 5 teams, and here's why. A trip to Bama, a trip to Austin to take on Steve Sarkisian, and a trip to take on Ole Miss, right? So Kalen DeBoer he's going to have these guys ready. They're ready to go. You play Dabo Swinney in the front. A trip to Texas will be challenging for sure, and that's kind of the meat of the season where you should be playing your best football. And then you're taking on Lane Kiffin in a game that was probably going to have a lot of high stakes on it. So, I mean, seen from the comment box, 8, 5, 8, 8, 7, 7, 7, 8. I mean, it looks kind of, if we were to put a quick average on this, it might be like a 7.5. It's a challenging schedule for the Georgia Bulldogs. Maybe that's why Kirby Smart recently was saying that his roster's depleted and the deterioration of college football. He doesn't have the roster like he did. I don't know. Team enters the season winning their last 31 to 32 games. The last loss coming against Alabama in Nick Saban's final victory as a head football coach. I don't know. It's a challenging schedule. Next up, Ohio State. Let's put, someone keep track for me. Actually, I could write it down too. All right, we're going to just say 7.5 for Georgia. Okay, Ohio State, Akron, Western Michigan, open after those two, right? Marshall, tough one. But I do like Charles Huff, right? Used to co-chair the running backs. Then you take on Mississippi State. Or, I'm sorry, Michigan State. My apologies. You take on Iowa. Then you make a trip to Eugene to take on Oregon. Then you're open. Then you got Nebraska. Trip to Happy Valley to take on Penn State. Purdue, Northwestern at Wrigley Stadium. That's kind of cool. Indiana and Michigan. Now those, I guess you could theoretically say those last 4 games, they're not necessarily, I mean, the game in Northwestern, as I mentioned, it is in Chicago at Wrigley Stadium. That's where, Northwestern is. So I guess that is a road game, but 3 out of the last 4 are at home. So same thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you going to say Ohio State's schedule is? I think I probably said 8 for Georgia. For Ohio State, let's see. That front end is super light. My goodness. I mean, up until that game against Oregon, they should be completely undefeated. Barring any injuries, 4s, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2, yeah, 6. Right, and they even host Michigan. 3, Northwestern, that's I'm going to say, let's just give them a 4, okay? So we'll give them a 4. Okay. I mean, I like that schedule if I'm an Ohio State fan, right? Those are only the away games that they have? Surely maybe I made an error, but they're barely on the road at all. Okay. Oregon, up next. Idaho, Boise State, at Oregon State, UCLA, Michigan State, Ohio State, Purdue, West Lafayette, right, in Indiana, Illinois, at Michigan, Maryland, at Wisconsin, open in Washington. Dwayne's like, that was gracious, Kyle. 4. Right? Okay, now let's do Oregon. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? 6? Byron is saying 6. I don't know. I'm saying maybe like 4.5 here, maybe 5. The early season rivalry game against Oregon State, that's just a rivalry game. Plus but the weather will be good. It should be good in Corvallis up there, right? And then UCLA, they should be able to win that game. Michigan State, they should be able to win. They host Ohio State. That'll be, probably, one of the marquee games, of course, in college football. So I'm going to say 3, 5. Oh, that was Garrett saying 3. Robert saying 5, 4.5. At Purdue, Illinois, at Michigan. I don't know. Should we say it is Deer Hunters from, but he's in PE. 4.5, 5. All right, 4.5, 2. All right, let's say 4.5. It's a little bit more challenging than Ohio State, I guess, because why? I guess because they're going to Michigan in the back end and Wisconsin. Coach Locks, they're playing them late. Then they go to Washington. I don't know. It seems, or they host Washington. It seems a little bit more challenging than Ohio State, I guess. Either one of those schedules is not a 5 out of 10, right? I think we can agree on that. Man, some of you guys are tough graders. 2. Ravenel saying 2. All right, Texas. Colorado State, at Michigan, Texas San Antonio, Louisiana Monroe. This is favorable for Texas. Mississippi State, open, Oklahoma, right? Neutral site game. And then you host Georgia. So it's at your house at Vandy. You know what? This is a favorite. So when I start talking about teams that have a real clear shot to get to the top 1 or 2 spots of the SEC championship, I think that Texas's schedule sets up really nicely for that. Right? You host Mississippi State, the game against Oklahoma, neutral site game, you host Georgia, you're at Vandy, you should be able to beat up Florida. They're coming to Austin, right? They should be depleted by that point. You travel to Arkansas, right? Arkansas, even though I love Sam Pittman, they're going to roll over Arkansas. Kentucky and Texas A&M. Honestly, look, I think that Texas, while they're scheduled, look, Oklahoma, Georgia, those are top 25 teams. A&M, I think, is a top 25 team. At Michigan, Texas might have a 6. I don't know. I'm kind of saying maybe a 5 for Texas. 5.5. I'm gonna put 5.5. But in terms of SEC, this sets up really well for them to be 1 or 2 at the end of the season for the SEC championship game. Samuel's saying 6. 4 for Texas. Ohio State schedule. Angel saying straight crap. Garrett, I'm with you, man. I am with you 100%, man. Texas could easily go 11-1. Man, they win that Michigan game. It was same thing, right? They beat the champions and then the defending champs. And then if you beat Oklahoma, you go into that Georgia game, and if you get past Georgia, man, they're not losing. Marcus, I agree, man. I think Texas' schedule, that's why I wanted to highlight kind of the side by side. So I did give them a 5.5. They are hosting the number 1 team, and they are playing the defending champ. They go to Texas A&M, I think, which will be, an interesting game considering it's tough to play at Kyle Field. I don't know when the last time those teams have played. Oklahoma's in the top, 15? It's an interesting schedule. Texas they're gonna win games. Right? Okay, let's talk about Bama now. Okay, so Western Kentucky, South Florida, at Wisconsin, open, host Georgia, the number 1 team in the nation at this point in time. South Carolina, now I played, you saw me play that silly game. One thing I learned about that when I streamed those games is that running back for South Carolina and the quarterback, they were monsters. Okay, they were much better than I thought. You play Tennessee. Now, this is where it gets challenging, this back end. Outside of Georgia, you go on the road. Kalen DeBoer's never played on an on-the-road SEC game in that type of environment, right? If I don't call Vandy. Vandy's like a home game for Bama. Tennessee will be crazy. Missouri, people don't talk about. Nobody. See, the reason why, unfortunately, people don't respect Missouri is because I don't think they see Eli Drinkwitz as an alpha male type personality. The guy can coach. That team was good last year. Hard hitting type team. I think Eli Drinkwitz. I think someone put out a list of top 25 coaches, and they had Eli Drinkwitz way down there. He's good, man. He's definitely a top 20 coach, if not top 15. He's one of the coaches, the younger coaches that are doing things right. That's a challenging place to continue to, have good football, and he's done that. They're coming to Tuscaloosa. Then you go open, right? You got 2 weeks to prepare for LSU. Brian Kelly, it's gonna be a good team, right? Mercer, and then Oklahoma, and then Auburn. One thing that I want to highlight about Alabama's schedule, okay, is let's say that let's say they get hot, around Tennessee. Let's just talk about the head coaches that they could face on this back-end schedule, okay? Josh Heupel, Eli Drinkwitz, Brian Kelly, Brett Venables, Hugh Freeze, and if they're able to survive that gauntlet of the back-end season, then you go into the SEC championship game a week after that Auburn game, which is going to be hard-hitting, dramatic, and let's say they match up with Texas, and then you play Steve Sarkisian. Or now So now rank Alabama's schedule. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the most challenging. You got the preseason number 1. You got Tennessee's ranked. LSU's ranked. Oklahoma's ranked. Auburn, the rivalry game. What are you guys going to say for Bama? So far, we got 7.5 for Georgia, 4 for Ohio State, 4.5 for Oregon, 5.5 for Texas. Garrett is saying Alabama is either going to go 10-2 or 11-1. I think that's kind of the consensus. 8.5. The road games, I mean, even if you add Wisconsin, man, is that right, Marcus, that they have the 6th most challenging schedule? Okay, 8. Let's see, 8, 9, 8. And I get it. It's a Bama show, so, maybe we kind of, Bama's going to have the hardest schedule. But they do. Look at, comparatively, if you look across, right, that's why I wanted to add this graphic. Who else is going on the road to more challenging environments than Alabama? I don't think anybody. I mean, look, maybe, Georgia, right? Because they're going to Bama, Ole Miss, and Texas. But after that, I think Alabama. Add to the fact that, you do play that when you get to Missouri, Tennessee, Missouri, and then the last game, you used to have kind of a spacer before the Iron Bowl. The spacer now is a road trip to Oklahoma. Okay. Oklahoma's now in the Southeast. I get it. They're in the Southeast Conference, but my grandparents don't live too far from Norman, Oklahoma. They live in Clayton, New Mexico, in the Great Plains. Has anybody inside the comment box been to Oklahoma in late November? You need a really good jacket. You need a Calhart cowboy jacket. That's what you need. I'm serious. Because those Calhart jackets, by the way, great brand, right? Like, I have a Calhart vest. Man, that thing's a beast. It's rugged. Thanks, Jarvis. I appreciate it, man. I was thinking, I just wanted to kind of like lay it out. And I think schedule of strength should certainly be added when, these people inside the room start looking at which team should make the playoffs. See, Marcus, I get it, man. You were stationed in Oklahoma. It gets cold. Yes, that Great Plains cold hits. I lived in Iowa. That was the Midwest is, whew. I ain't made for the Midwest. I'm made for St. Pete's. Thank you. See, Dwayne backing me up. It's no joke in Oklahoma in November. Man. All right. Okay. Let's finally do this next one, which is Ole Miss. And look, Coach Saban said this. Coach Saban recently picked Georgia and Texas, right? I think those were his preseason picks. And I get it. He's going back to his former locker room so they could have some reverse rat poison, right? My reverse rat poison would be picking Texas and Ole Miss to make the SEC championship game. Like, if I took my Bama, my Tide Fed hat off, and I'm just like, if I was ever like promoted to like a national position or whatever, I would probably say Texas and Ole Miss. And here's why. You look at Ole Miss's schedule, and we looked at Texas, and I think it's very favorable for Texas, but you look at Ole Miss as well. Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake, UGA. If a lot's on the line for Ole Miss in that first week. Or that third week against Georgia. Because then you start, or they don't play Georgia twice. I have an error in there. Let me make sure. Let me read out their schedule correctly. Ole Miss football schedule. Stay with me. I was like, damn, they play Ole Miss twice. All right. So there's an error on the graphic, but I'm going to read it out online right now. Because they do have a favorable schedule, and that third game is not old. Let's see. Give me 1 second, fam. Ole Miss football schedule 2024. Let's see who they play that third week. All right. So their schedule. So we're starting on Ole Miss. So just listen to what I say instead of the graphic. Furman, Middle Tennessee. They go to Wake Forest. That's that third game, right? So I need to update that. Then they play Georgia Southern, right? Then they play Kentucky. Then they play South Carolina, at LSU. Then they're open. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Georgia's on the way back. And man, I really butchered that schedule. Florida and Mississippi State. So my point is, I mean, it's a pretty good schedule for Ole Miss. Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky. They'll win that game. Let's just go by one with Ole Miss. Okay, Furman, will they win that game? Yes. Will they beat Middle Tennessee? Yes. Will they beat Wake Forest? Yes. Will they beat Georgia Southern? Yes. Will they beat Kentucky? Yes. Will they beat South Carolina on the road? Yes. Then they play LSU. That game was what, 900 to 900? I don't know. Maybe they win that game too. Then they're open. Then they take on Oklahoma. That should be a good game. I would imagine that LSU or that Ole Miss wins that game. Then they take on Arkansas. They win that game. Then they play Georgia on the back end. A lot on the line. Then they take on Florida, which they should win, and they should beat Mississippi State. So you're looking at, so you see what I'm saying? Like, Ole Miss schedule, it works really well for them. Same thing with Texas. So if I had to pick two teams outside of Bama that I think we're going to make the 1 and 2 spot for the SEC title game, I'm probably rolling with Ole Miss and Texas. All right. Tony, what's up, man? I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here. Okay, so yeah, a lot of schedules to kind of cruise through, but I appreciate you guys rocking with me, and that was fun to kind of go over. I wanted just to kind of lay it out. Going to some mailbag questions right now. I appreciate you guys. I put these mailbag questions inside the community tab for you guys to ask, and this question comes in from BS Kovic, and he says, sneakiest Alabama opponent who will shock the SEC conference that they play in. The way I read this question was basically who will be, outside of the SEC, who will be a challenge for Alabama in their own conference. So I quickly thought of South Florida, and here's why. Byron Brown is a baller. Like, he's a really good quarterback. And look at all these preseason awards that he's up for. Look, last year, if you say what you want, he gave Alabama problems, right? So he's up for the 2024 Maxwell Award, Walter Camp Award, Davey O'Brien Award, Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, Manning Award Watch, Lindsey preseason All-American second team. And then last year, along with Jaden Daniels, he was the only player that was that threw for over 3,000 yards and rushed for over 800 yards. He's a really good player. And the thing about South Florida is what they do is they just spread everybody to the side, and he just runs it up the middle. So you have to have really good play from the inside linebackers, which clearly Alabama will have, but this guy was tough, right? And I mean, Jeff is saying, I agree with this. Running quarterbacks can give you problems. This guy gave Alabama a lot of problems last year. And the quarterback has a lot of confidence. He's kind of like a young rattlesnake. He's just, that was a tough game. Now, on the flip side, Alabama, I think, is favored to win this game by 35 points. And I think Alabama, and I think the locker room, I think they'll tell Kalen DeBoer, because, he wasn't here last year. I think they'll be like, yo, we got something for South Florida. And I think Alabama, really takes it to these guys. I think there'll be a lot of preseason hype on this one. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Here's a preview. Alabama, on social media, will say something based off South Florida's coach's comments because he said they have to play South Florida. No. Don't get it twisted, man. You guys did a really good job last year, and I get it. There was a lot of things going on with Alabama in terms of that cake bake. Not this year, not this house. You're coming over here to Tuscaloosa, and if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I am pressing down the accelerator until you can't go any faster. The entire game. I'm scoring 65 points in this game. That's it. I'm sending a message to everybody else that if you want to talk about coming to Tuscaloosa or playing Alabama, this is what you're going to have to deal with. All right. I appreciate the question. Thank you so much. This is our next question in our mailbag. Do y'all believe you're going to win this year with all the talent on the roster? On the right, I put up another graphic. This is a Bet GM, and that's what got me thinking about the schedules. You have Georgia at plus 300. You have Ohio State at plus 325. You have Oregon at plus 700. Texas at plus 800. Bama at plus 1500. Look, if I'm betting, which I don't, I do like to play DraftKings. That's fun. And I do I'm going to do a fantasy football NFL league as well. But I don't place any big bets. But if I'm betting right now, I like Alabama at that plus 1,500. I mean, you talk about value when you're talking about betting. I like that plus 1,500, considering a college football playoff has 12 teams, and the fact that you return Jalen Milroe in that entire offense, like, come on, right? So I'm definitely not. The value on Penn State is 0. LSU 0. I'm not touching that. Ole Miss, nah, they don't have enough to win the championship. Ohio State, considering their schedule super light, I'm not even buying Oregon. And Georgia's kind of just like a familiar name, right? So, look, the defense is loaded. The offense is loaded. You return, the kicker who won the Lou Groza Award. Kalen DeBoer just played for a national championship. There's still so much momentum here. Yeah, I certainly think that Alabama makes a run for the title. You know what? I wouldn't even be surprised. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama wins the championship. Now, are they going to get punched in the mouth during the season? Yes. Everybody is. This isn't going to be one of those seasons. No team, I don't think is going to win 16 games and like be undefeated. 17 games. What's the record for? Is it 15-0? Right? You're going to get punched in the mouth, which is fine. You can lose 2 games this year. I'm not saying go do it. You can lose 3 games this year and still be able to compete for the national title. But with all the talent, I think it'll come down to if there's any marquee injuries, and can the guys who have to step in depth, can they continue to rise up? And when we look to Bama, we don't even know who the starters are going to be because they're so deep. So depth, like Texas, they already lost 2 running backs, right? And Bama does have a point to prove. Look, people are already saying, Alabama hasn't won a championship in X amount of years and this and that. Okay. All right. New season. In a new world of college football. Everything is new this year. Everything is new with college football. Erase everything that you knew. Besides, the foundation of Alabama football, everything's new. 12-team playoff, 1 and 2 playing for a conference champ. There's no more East and West. Everybody's scheduled challenging. All right, next question. Coming to us from McCoggin. I'll go full screen on that so you can see it. What's your sense from what you've been hearing so far from fall camp, where the defensive development is compared to last season? Well, I like this, and I like the defensive line, and one of the consistents was basically Freddie Roach maintaining his position with the University of Alabama. Now, he did get an elevated title as he is assistant head football coach, so he got a pay raise. But him and Robert Gillespie, I think, were marquee pieces in keeping the running back room, football coach, who also has an associate head football coach title now as well, and Freddie Roach. And I think the players under him as well, whether it's the bandit position or whether it's the defensive tackle in the nose position, I've seen some really good development. Number 47 right here, who changed his number to 23 this year, is James Smith. And you look to him right next to Tim Keenan. You look to Tim Smith. You look to the bandits, Keon Keeley. You look to Jameer and Latham. You look at the 280-pound ass kicker in LT Overton. That's a lot of good development. So Damon Payne, there's a lot of guys within that room that can see a lot of rotation, and just like any position, you need depth. But and I think kind of in terms of a really impactful defensive lineman. What's up, Kyle? I see you inside the comment box, man. Kyle, recognize Kyle, like real, recognize real. Who would you say has been Alabama's last really imposing defensive tackle? Sound off inside the comment box. But in terms of the development last year, this year, I don't think I think it's somewhat been the same because you have Freddie Roach. I mean, he's just continuing to elevate those guys, and I think he's underrated even as a recruiter. Look, defensive line, defensive tackles are so hard to recruit. I think that's one of the most challenging positions to recruit. Collaboration. I like that. Quinnen Williams. Remember when he sneezed on air? He was like, bless me. Thank you. That was my fun. I think he said, bless you. He blessed himself. You see that? But I think he was the last true dominant one. And I think Tim Keenan will have a really good season. Barmore was great. Barmore had a fire under his, you know what? Like that guy he was pissed off. Ty Does Motto, what's up, man? Appreciate you. But I do like the defensive line in terms of the depth. Now, do you have like a superstar like a Jonathan Allen or a Quinnen Williams? Probably not. But that's not a knock. Like those guys are just unique individuals. I think there's guys on this team that can be super effective. All right. This is another question. We're still cruising with mailbag time. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Thoughts on what the offense will look like in terms of tempo? Do you foresee a lot of no huddles trying to catch the defense slipping? That's from handle already taken. Oh, it sucks. Your handle's already taken, man. Look, I think in terms of the tempo, I like this. I really like this question. Thank you so much. You know what's going to be dope is this helmet communication, right? In terms of like tempo and the offensive coordinator being able to talk to the quarterback and the defensive coordinator being able to talk to his signal caller, the defensive, the inside linebacker. Man, talk about like a high-speed chess game. I do think you see tempo. You see a lot of tempo now in college football, clearly. Man, Noah Carter's going to be an absolute beast, man. Can't wait for that kid. He's perfect for that wolf position. Perfect. I do see up-tempo. And I think that Alabama clearly has, clearly they have the athletes to run it, but the offensive line will play a critical role in the success of this tempo offense. I mean, even last year, we've talked about this a million times, they were just too heavy. Like, I don't think J.C. Latham, you're like, okay, Jarvis, can you look this up real quick? What is he playing? What is J.C. Latham playing at with the Titans? And what did he play at Bama? Remember he put on like 50 pounds or something like that? They were too slow. So if they go up tempo, I mean, I think they have the guys to do it that are in better shape. I mean, there's a reason that Tyler Booker lost. While everybody was gaining, he lost 25 pounds. I like the question. Robert, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. Hey, Jimmy Lee Baker with a question. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Jimmy, for getting inside the comment box. Yeah, see 342. Yeah, that's good. Last year he played way heavier than 342. All right, this is coming in from Jimmy Lee Baker. Final ranking of the offense and defense. What's your guesstimate? Look, I was talking with my son this morning. I make my kids breakfast every day, and I was talking with Caden, and I was like, man, like Nick Sheridan. Think about like a lot of life too is about timing. Right, he came over here to be the tight ends and I guess, assist with the quarterbacks. And then they're like, yo, Ryan Grubb's out. You're in as the OC. I'll be like, oh, baby. Like, life's about timing. You got to be ready to go when your name is called. I like how he's been poised, and I think he has a lot of confidence. I mean, he has so many weapons to work with. Now, Alabama's offense, will they be top 10? Yeah, I would be mortified if they're not. And the defense, this is going to be a good one because trivia. Where was Washington's defense ranked last year at the end of the season? A team that played for the national championship. Who can look that up real quick? Christopher, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. That's what I'm saying, Jarvis. See, he was 360, probably played at 370. Now in the NFL, he's playing at 340. NFL gets it. Adam is saying 94th. I thought it was 100 that Washington finished out. What's up, Adam? It's good to see you, man. You see what I'm saying? Washington's defense last year was ranked 94th, according to Adam. I thought at one point I looked at it was like 110th or something like that. Yeah, I've seen that. It's me, Marvin, saying Travaris Robinson said that the defense at Georgia is less complicated. Man, everyone's saying that Alabama's defense was so complicated under Coach Saban. I don't know. Like even, recently even Deonta Lawson said in this new system, it allows the inside linebackers to play. I don't know. I mean, the guys got it done. I felt that sometimes like Pete Golding over-explained things instead of like had those guys going repetitions, because when you would watch the inside linebackers, they'd just be standing around listening to him talk. If Alabama's, I would definitely say that Alabama's, what was the defense ranked last year? Weren't they like top 30? Yeah, I think they, top 25. That'd be the goal. Defense is hard, man. Like in grass basketball, but you got the talent over here. You're playing a tough schedule. I don't know. 19th? Is that what they were last year, Chris? Yeah, top 25. Yeah, that's the goal. And, maybe top 15 I don't know, maybe top 15. If you have the top 10 offense and a top 15, you're winning the national championship. 1,000,000%. Bama Hater says Washington was a championship game because of if Penix and DeBoer didn't bring him to T-Town. Bama Hater, you'll have to ask your questions again, man. There's been a bunch of comments, so you can like copy them and paste them, and I'll answer them if I can inside the comment box. Penix could sling it, man, but the defense just wasn't it for me. Yeah, so those are our questions today on the mailbag. So I appreciate you, and you can look through those. I post them Thursday night, so just kind of like heads up in terms of when you can ask those questions, and I like to get them on screen. Now is a good time. I'll take some calls. 205-850-1994. You can go ahead and call in the show. Kyle Henderson at Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. We got 159 on. Let's make the goal for Super Chats today $10. Can we get over $10 in Super Chats in the next 10 minutes? That is the challenge for Super Chats today. I appreciate you guys rocking with me right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Call line. It's at the top left of your where is it? My screen, because when you're on camera, things are reversed. So it's over here. 205-850-1994. You have a scrimmage on Saturday, which I'm really looking forward to. Have nuggets from the scrimmage. AK Deer has set his announcement date for August 20th. You guys, how do you do Super Chats? There's a $sign. That's a good question. There's a $sign inside the comment box. If you hit the $sign, then you can choose an amount. It's like a tip. Think like a super chat. This is an interesting question. A super chat is a one-time tip. Like, so it'd be like, I'm your bartender and we're talking football, or I've made you a good drink, or you like the delivery or whatever, and then you just super chat. So it's part of, I'll be honest, it's part of how I make money, along with you guys being members of the Undefeated, which is $2.99, I think, at the lowest point. So we have a 865, and we'll take it right now. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
This is Angel again, back from Tennessee again, Pigeon Forge.
What's up, Angel? I need to go back to Pigeon Forge. Who inside the comment box has been up to Pigeon Forge? I love it up there. I think it's really nice. And I think when I stayed in there, I stayed in Gatlinburg, which, as you know, isn't too far. And I stayed in Sevierville too.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful up there. What's the temperature up there today?
It's like 80-something degrees. It's actually 5 degrees lower than Tuscaloosa, actually, so it's kind of about the same almost. Yeah, it's actually 82 right now in Pigeon Forge here. It's like 83 now, and now it's 87 in Tuscaloosa. So, yeah, it's about 5-point difference of the degrees up here.
Yeah. So let me answer Bama Hater real quick. Wanted me to give my prediction on Alabama's last 6 games. So I think they beat Missouri. Then they got LSU. So, let's start with Tennessee. So, I do think they beat Tennessee on the road. I think it'll be tough. I haven't even seen like an early point spread for that game. I think they will beat Missouri. On the road against LSU, I think that point spread is like 1.5. I think they're like Alabama's a 1-point underdog. But I'll take Kalen DeBoer against Brian Kelly, and Mercer going to Oklahoma seems like a very tough game on the road at that point in time. So I'll say, look, if Alabama's going to lose the game, I think it's at Georgia. on that front end of the schedule, and I think they're able to get by in that back end, but it's going to be absolutely challenging. So I'm saying 6-0, and a game they drop, if they did, would be early on in the season against Georgia, and I think probably everybody else. Got some super chats. Geraldine with the 10th spot, thank you so much, and then of course Jarvis and Christopher, thanks so much. I really appreciate you hooking us up with the super chat right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Angel, what you got for us, man? Welcome on into the show.
Yeah, our schedule though, Bama's schedule, it's manageable, but it ain't like terrible, like Ohio State's, terrible schedule. I mean, it's pretty crazy though too, and Georgia's as well. They're going to learn something about their scheduling because in order to win, you have to play the best of the best opponents, and that's what really stands out with Alabama, of course, because they play UGA, but at the same time, I don't really see Wisconsin and USF, and, Oklahoma being a huge threat, though, really, because, I did see Oklahoma's bowl game last year. I was not impressed at all. And LSU, it's going to be a tough home environment for them, or, being on the road to LSU's home environment.
Yeah.
That place is crazy. But I think Brian Kelly is just, he's not the man to, he's not going to be caring though, he's not going to care about these games at all. He's just there for a paycheck, really, and he's can't really beat Alabama because just like he was at Notre Dame, he can't get the job done, and I really don't see that again this year where he can beat Alabama at least once. But I don't know. He doesn't have Jaden Daniels anymore, so and their quarterback either. I'm not impressed either. And I really think Alabama's going to run them over pretty easily, like last season. Offensively, though, in Jalen. And then I see Oregon's schedule. They're playing pretty terrible teams the first 3 games. I guess Ohio State's the big game they have, but I'm not really impressed with Oregon either. So they're going to be, undefeated at that point. And in Texas, they're pretty good. They got a pretty good schedule. Although Texas A&M, though, and Kyle Fields ain't no joke.
I know that was the game that I think was really challenging for Alabama last season, and that's when Alabama really got things going in the passing game. When Jalen Milroe and Burton went crazy, right? That's when Burton just went. He went wild in that game. That's when he became another person, whoever he was. Yeah, and I have to, if you're looking at the graphic too, I have to update Ole Miss's schedule on this graphic. So next time we look at the graphics, that'll be updated. But they do play Georgia on that back end of the schedule, and they play that I think their 4th game is against Georgia Southern. So just put that in your mind. What else you got, Angel?
Yeah, and Wisconsin though too. Their quarterback from Miami, I'm not really impressed with that. I think he'll get clobbered around back and forth, especially with Alabama's defense, because he's never really played Alabama since 2021 was when Alabama beat them 44-14 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I know it was Bryce Young, but I really don't see Wisconsin being a huge opponent. Really, they're just like another team like Northwestern. They're kind of like that.
I've always looked at Wisconsin kind of as a defensive team. I've liked their game on the defense, but offense, I've never really been impressed. I think Wisconsin actually just named Tyler Van Dyke the official starter, but we all knew that he was going to be the starter. Yeah. It's he's transferred a bunch of times. He's thrown for almost 8,000 career yards, which is, I guess, that's notable. That's something that you certainly talk with. But when you talk with Alabama fans, like you yourself, Angel, who's calling in for Pigeon Forge, I don't see a lot of people really stressing out about Wisconsin. I don't even know how to kind of, when we get closer to that, we'll preview them and we'll look at their wide receiver and their depth charts and kind of look at the matchups. But I don't know. It doesn't seem, Alabama's a 9.5 point favorite in that game. Jarvis has it right there.
Yeah, it more than that, though.
Right? I think Alabama probably wins by 2 touchdowns, maybe even 17 points. I like that score, Adam. 34-20. I'd probably take that. I even take 34-17 or 34-14, something like that. What else you got, Angel?
Yeah, because and for this new season too, it's going to be a lot of uncertainty is going to be there. There's going to be a terrible ways of ranking people this season because they can flip flop the schedules around and all that. And look, it ain't really easy for nobody this year. We're going to have to get banged up, get in the trenches because that's what you're supposed to do, and you're going to have to suck it up and get through the injuries. But that's why you rotate people in and out because this is going to be a rough season. I can tell you that for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Third string, fourth string, you name it. Everybody's going to get utilized in this season because this is uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
Especially this 12-team playoff. And if you win or don't win, then it's going to be a lot of extra work to get done, which you have to. That's why it's so important to get that conference title game win, to get that bye, because that bye is very crucial and critical for the next game for your opponent. Look, it ain't going to be fair. It's going to be, hard. And that's all. And I really do think this is going to be the best season and also the worst season at the same time with injuries and everything else. And
you're gonna need depth, man. Case, what's up, man? Case, you're not late, man. You made it, man. You're still on the show. Angel, well, I appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much. I always appreciate your support, man, and enjoy those beautiful Smoky Mountains out there. And we'll catch up with you next time.
Yeah, roll tide, man. Thank you.
Yeah, roll tide. All right, man. Take it easy. Call line is open if you want to chat with me. 205-850-1994. I love Pigeon Forge, and I went up there, and that was the first time. And I've talked to Angel about this, but it's a new season, so I'll talk about it again. And I went on one of those sky coasters. They're in the mountains, right? And the interesting. Have you been on this? Right? Do you know what I'm talking about? So you go up, and you get in an individual, I guess, little capsule or a car. And you travel up this the mountain, and it's takes you up, and and then but you can control the speed with a lever that has a handle, right? So you're going down solo, and you could the thing forward is brake, right? Have you been on this thing? Alpine, thank you, Alpine coaster. Yeah, that's what it is. I had so much fun, and the thing is you can do this Alpine coaster at night, too, right? And that's the fun part. So the Alpine coaster, I definitely recommend it. Have you guys been on this? 205-850-1994 if you want to jump in on the back end of the show. I appreciate you guys being here and continue to rock with me right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We're also on Spotify. I do replay the show at 12. Hey, we got a super chat in. I appreciate it from Dwayne. Roll Tide, roll. A lot of folks will underestimate us this year. Lank. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and remember that you can buy Lank apparel. If you want to support the players, you can go to the soup store next time you're in Tuscaloosa. To be honest, you can go to Athletes Thread. That's where to get a lot of the stuff. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's just I know you want to support them. Same thing with Yay Alabama. They have some options for you to get player gear. But the thing about it is if you get the Lank gear, when I was here, when I went to the soup store this last time here in Tuscaloosa, they didn't have a lot. It was just a few stuff, on few shirts, and I don't even think they had hats that were available. So my opinion to them would be to fill the store with the Lank gear, especially with the movie that they just released and how they're pushing it. Fill up the store. People want it. So that's my message. Because when I went in there, I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't have a lot of different. I wanted to buy 5 shirts and hats and stuff like that, and they didn't have it. So I went to the bookstore and the strip, and that's the other thing too, is it's really expensive. So yeah, I mean extremely expensive. Let's go to the phone lines. 317. All right, thanks for calling in. You're online with Kyle.